The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Gary, would you lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to ask anyone, ask anyone if they have any public comment, and if you do, please come to the podium and just state your name and your address. Okay, hearing none, we'll continue. At this time, we are going to have a presentation from Nancy Parent. Excuse me. We are not going to yet have consideration of special topics. Meredith.
All right, do you want me to go on?
Yes.
All right, I move to award bid number 255 for one new unused pumper engine to Pierce Manufacturing of Appleton, Wisconsin, in the amount of $599,152.
Second.
Thank you. Kathy.
So this is to award bid 255 for a new unused pumper engine to Pierce in the amount of $599,152. This is the replacement of Engine 3 at Southwest Fire Station. Engine 3 is a 1997 Pierce Class A pumper that is 20 years old, and it will be replaced with another Class A pumper. The town opened bids on January 17th. The town received one bid. The bidder does comply with the bid requirements. The town currently has 7 Pierce fire apparatuses in the fleet. The base bid for the pumper was $625,800. For purchase orders to be completed, contracts received at Pierce Manufacturing before 12 noon on January 31st, 2017, a deduction of $16,901 will be applied. That's why we're seeing it at this meeting, because we get a deduction of $16,901. The town will also receive a credit of $9,704 if it pays for its chassis approximately 90 days prior to delivery. This brings the total price to $599,152. And I see we have the fire chiefs and Mary Ellen in the audience. If they have any questions about this, this was again one of the items that we bonded, and it takes a year, correct, for the fire trucks to be built, and this is to award the bid. And Mary Ellen, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a committee that goes over this?
Correct. I'm supposed to have a committee that went over it.
Brian, maybe you just say a few words of how the process works of how you come up with your truck?
Okay, well, we have a check.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
This is just for show. There's nothing.
Looks very impressive.
I mean, we sit down and look at the truck we're replacing, which was like I said, 97 truck. It was actually one of the smaller trucks in town. Back in 97, we bought 4 of the same style trucks. One at Oak Gardens, 2 at Farmington. One which was at Tungus at the time because the Southwest Station didn't exist. The 2 from Farmington are in the process of being replaced right now. So this is the twin of those, of the 4 trucks. So as we looked at the area of town, recent calls we've had up there with water shortage and manpower shortage, we went for the truck that's got a little bit bigger of a tank on it. Same size pump. It can hold 2 more guys than the current truck can, so hold more manpower. And committee made up of members of Tungus Hose and our career staff worked on this for the past 5 months. Worked with the manufacturer to come up with the spec and reviewed the bid that he proposed, and it all matched what we were looking for. So,
Great,
that's it.
great. Well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Any questions from the council? Yes, John?
So I fully support the purchase of this, and we should move forward as we discussed last budget period. A couple of questions. Is this the only manufacturer? Are there other manufacturers that didn't give us bids? And is there some reason for that?
Yes, you can come back
Yeah.
up. I should have asked you to stay.
Yeah. So it's the open bid process that Joe puts out the bid in public notice, and any manufacturer has the ability to bid. So when Farmington bid, they had received 2 manufacturers, I believe, and when we bid, we received 1. So I don't know if it's preference or some manufacturers don't want to bid at a certain time. Some are fully loaded and can't build more trucks because they're already at capacity. So there's all sorts of reasons why people wouldn't bid, but we're happy with who did bid.
Yes, obviously you've bought a lot of these.
Yes. Yep.
My second question,
Hold on, just in case.
no, I think this one's more
steps
aimed
in.
at Kathy, but does this fit our estimate in the budget?
Yes, I think our estimate was
600.
600,000.
Perfect.
Save $900.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're going to spend that $900 on it. We will.
Okay, well, any other questions from the council? Have you worked with this manufacturer before?
Yes. So when we did the 2 engine takers in 2005, same manufacturer, same salesman, and then the trucks we bought in 97 were also the same.
All positive experience?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. Anything else? Okay, thanks, Brian. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. This is just the presentation.
Yeah.
So, now we have a presentation about the splash park. And thank you very much, guys. Nancy Parent, would you like to come up? And Kathy?
I'm going to
speak
do
this?
a little bit of an introduction for Nancy and Jeff Porter in Recreation and Nancy Parent. What we have here tonight is we're going to just give an informational type of presentation on our splash park. I'm sure most of you remember that we've been talking about a splash park, and Nancy will talk about it, I think, since 2008. It's been in the capital budget, and it's been moving up and moving back for various years. And last year, I had spoke to Nancy and said, we've seen this splash park in the agenda, in the capital budget, but really, I don't have any detail about what a splash park is, what it takes to build a splash park, what are the maintenance costs that go along with the splash park, and just the details of it. So Nancy has spent some time with her staff over the course of a year looking at some of the logistics of a splash park. None of these things are in stone. I'm not really looking for a recommendation from the council at this time. It's just really to look at it, questions, thoughts about it. It is a new type of program for recreation, so I don't anticipate that it's going to be in this upcoming capital budget. But again, I think we're very close to being ready if we, we could start getting more details about it. Also, the community chest, who some of the members are here, have expressed an interest about fundraising some of this for us, and we're hopeful that we could partner with them. And again, since the council, really all we've ever talked about is in the budget saying, gosh, what's a splash park? It seems nice. I thought it was a good opportunity for us to kind of look at it and get some more detail about it and see what your thoughts about it were. So Nancy, at that?
Sure. Yeah, does it look clear? It doesn't look clear to me. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Sometimes if we turn the lights down a little,
Yeah.
it focuses. Okay, yeah, it just looks a little unclear. Ooh,
Good call.
perfect. Good job. I was like, whoa. Thank you.
Okay, so we can just go to the first slide. So the first slide is just an explanation about what is aquatic play pad. And they're spray parks or spray pads. We've called splash pads, and we've called it both in the budget. But it's a zero depth, so it's less than 2 inches of water. And they're a wide range of sizes. And some of you may have seen them, throughout different communities. They have public play places, family entertainment centers. They can be indoor, they can be outdoor. Sometimes they're near pools, but not always, so they're all very different. Some of the positive features of them are they're an alternative to wading pools, so there's no standing water. For that, there's no lifeguards required. They're inclusive, so different ages can do different things. They extend the water play season. Sometimes you'll get people that will come to a splash pad, but they might not go underwater swimming, but they might run through a sprinkler. And they can be visually appealing in design, and there's all different designs. So just to kind of give you an overview of the steps that we've taken, obviously the budget submission, and Kathy was right, it was in 2008 that the splash pad was first introduced for the fiscal year 2009 budget. Currently, it's in this budget right now, or it was submitted at $175,000 for the town and $25,000 for a community chest, which community chest had committed to that amount. Site visits, we've actually gone through 12 to see and walk through 12 sites throughout the state, And there's one in New York. I was actually away at a hockey tournament for a weekend, and they had the best-looking splash pad. So I actually tracked down the manager and had them share with me the budget and everything, which was really very interesting. And then we did a whole comparison study. And Jeff, if you click on the hyperlink, it actually shows we actually had a whole Madrid of different things that we were looking at. You can go right back. We looked at hours, fees, structure, and I'll give you the details of that and types of environment. One of the best models that I was looking at is Plainville, because Plainville was built 2 years ago, so they actually have a site that they have had in operation for 2 years. So it was kind of closest in proximity, but also in the type of facility that they're running. So that we really kind of looked at that. And water management choices, I learned so much about water that I never knew before. But there's actually 3 types of splash pads, and we're looking to do one that would be a combo of 2 of them. The first one is a flow-through, just as it sounds. The water goes up, it goes down a drain into the sewer system. There's a retain and reuse, and that captures the water to use elsewhere, like an irrigation system, or thinking of the site I was looking right in front of the golf course, thinking we sometimes purchase water for a golf course. Wouldn't that be cool? In a lot of the research that I've done, even though it's not a pool water that children are actually in it, it is still considered gray water. So to retain and reuse it, there's still a treatment form that you need to do. And recirculation, it's a mini pool right below the splash pad. So the water's actually coming up, going back in, and being recirculated. That's actually considered an aquatic center. So you actually need a certified person to run that, as well as, lifeguards and things of that nature. So I was looking at a combo that it would be a flow through, but I just hated the idea of just wasting the water to go down a drain. And to be honest, our treatment plant doesn't want water that is what they consider clean, even though other people consider it gray, that it's hard to clean already clean water. So we had thought of putting it down the storm drain and then building some type of bioswale, which is a visually appealing, and I actually have some pictures of what that looks like. So it's a combo. It would be a flow through, but we would reuse it. We wouldn't retain it. It'd be reused into a bioswale, which would actually go back into the community and the earth. And we just looked at location and feasibility, and I'll go into more detail about that. But through all our comparisons for the fee for use, most of them were free. It's like a playground, but it has water. There's a few that actually have pools attached, and that's where some of the charges come through, because they're actually paying to use a pool, and there happens to be a splash pad attached. Hours of operation are typically dawn to dusk, some 10 to 7 p.m., but typically they have an hour span. And the nice thing is you're only utilizing it or having it be active during that hour. Nobody can go in after hours. Yearly, June to September, Memorial Day to Labor Day, that's kind of the average types of hours. Supervision, typically there's none unless there's a pool attached. And then they would obviously have supervision. Oops, you got way ahead of me there. Just to hit reverse, yeah, previous. Oh, huh. My finding, I'll just finish this slide. It just got out of order. It actually hits the next one. So the supervision, if there is a pool attached, sometimes they'll have the supervision. Then the next slide. Construction cost. It could be anywhere between $75,000 and $200,000. Plainville's happened to be $113,000. The maintenance cost average is between $1,000 to $3,000. Plainville has all in kind because their maintenance crew sets it up at the beginning of the season and then takes it down at the end of the season. So there's that yearly maintenance, and then there's regularly scheduled just to make sure all the nozzles and everything works. And then there's the replacement of the elements over time, and that can range anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, depending upon what items you need and what you're choosing to replace. Most of them last almost 20 years, but some of the smaller ones can last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And then the water cost, the average is $3,000 to $5,000, and Plainville said they average theirs at $4,000, but they actually don't pay for it. Now if you switch. Oh, yeah, we just did that. They were backwards. Okay, feasibility study, we actually hired a company called V-Splash, who is a nationally known company for splash pads, and they came down and they did a whole overview of where we were looking, how we were looking to do it, and they examined our construction budget and decided that the $200,000 that we had in the budget was definitely sufficient for a medium-sized park. They did suggest that we design it to include the ability to upgrade or add on to it if need be. They said one of the problems that they have is people will build one and then 10, 15 years later they want to add on to it and they've already built other things around it, which make that difficult to do. And they design recommendations they made is for us to have 3 to 5 above ground features. And I actually have a picture of what that looks like. Should open.
Nancy, can I just interrupt you a little bit there?
Absolutely.
Did you say they looked at a $100,000 budget?
200,000.
200,000.
200,000. I'm not sure why but I can explain exactly what they look like. An above-ground feature is, if you've been to some of the water parks, you'll see there's the things that raise up, and actually at the end of the slide I have a picture of a few, so I'll point them out. But they're above ground, the water comes down, or they spray out, or it whirls around, or does something, but it's an actual feature that has to be put into the park. The 8 to 10 ground sprays are actually coming out of the ground. They're flush and there's a nozzle. And you may have seen, sometimes you'll see water parks where a kid will cover one and the next one will shoot up, or they can play and do that. So that's how that they would manage that, to be able to do that. They did suggest that we have an eco-activator, and an eco-activator means that our water is not going to run all the time. So when a child comes, if nobody's at the park, the water's not running. It's not like a sprinkler, but if a child pushes a button, all of a sudden the water starts. It would run for whatever agreed upon time that we would decide beforehand, and then if nobody else was to push it, it would stop until someone else pushed it again. And you could have more than one activator, so that you may have one child on one side activating it, another on the other, but you're not wasting water and having it run like a sprinkler all the time, because that, would be a bigger waste of water. And it's on a concrete slab from anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. So that's about a size, which is, for a soccer field, I've had, size. This room? Yep, of this room. So for site selection, we looked at Westwood's property between the firehouse and the golf course parking lot, and we actually looked at a few different sites there. When we had first planned it, and actually if you switch one, I have a blown up one, it's just easier to see, of the 3 sites. So if you look at it, I'm just going to point. Right up there is the firehouse, right there. Right over there is Westwood's parking lot. And then over there is the recreation where you're pulling in. So the first site we had looked at was 1, which was closest to the firehouse. And actually, that was a little lower in the pitch from where the water lines were than we had first anticipated. So while they love the sight line, because driving by you can see it very well from the road, the water lines weren't high enough for that. So there'd have to be some fill brought in there, to be able to do it. The second site, which is right over adjacent, right beside the parking lot, has the best height, exactly with the water lines. There'd be almost no fill to have to bring in. It's not great for the site view, because driving by the firehouse kind of blocks it a little bit. We had never even thought of the proposed site 3, which is across the way. He fell in love with the water tower over there. There's an old water tower that he thought was a really neat design element. But in looking at some of the parking, we had talked about the additional parking would go behind Westwood's, the golf course parking we could add on right there since it's already done. So we didn't know, we'd have to explore whether or not we wanted to cross the street or how we wanted to operate that. That's not the busy street, that's the entrance to the golf course. So then we finished the feasibility study, and they looked at our water connections, our storm connections, our electrical connections, and that street has all of those connections running from where the firehouse was right down to the golf course, the pro shop, and then the maintenance building. The one change would need is we would have to have the bioswale connection hooked up before it could go into the storm drain, just to help to get rid of the chlorine when it goes into, it gets rid of the chlorine, so you're not putting that directly into the storm drain. So they recommended that we look at a little closer at Site 2 and Site 3 to look at, and they really liked our design choice and some of our further development choices. So if you look at the next page, and that is the design choice we're looking at, not the building. The building happens to be a golf shop, pro shop, but the coloring is what we liked. It's called Grasslands, and in front of the golf course, we felt that that was something that could complement it and blend in, and not, there was some really beautiful bright purple and green and just very fluorescent colors, which were very nice, but it wasn't appropriate for this part of the community. So we felt that that would really complement it. The next page, I have another picture too. And that's close up. If you see the large ones that are to look like grass, those are considered the above ground, and then the ones on the ground are obviously the on the ground. And then our design plan is including that bioswale. And here's a few examples of bioswales. And actually, the one on the bottom is in front of a splash pad. You can see the splash pad behind it with the red overhangs. And what happens is when the water goes down, it goes into that garden and into the ground, so that it's not going into the sewer system, it's going into the ground. And then just in, we had looked at a few things for that area. I know along the last many years, we've always talked about athletic fields and multi-use fields, a picnic area, maybe walking trails, some passive recreation to kind of surround and go around that area, and playgrounds. And I've actually been exploring some grant options with Hartford Foundation for Public Giving to look at some playground areas in that area as well.
So Nancy, thank you, and Jeff and everyone. So what I learned over the course of what Nancy has taught me is that a splash park is a little bit more extensive than what we thought, meaning that the engineering, what the ground is, where the water goes, and all the different areas. That said, it is treated like a playground, that once it gets there, it's more like a playground. People come and go. You don't charge a fee for it. It's really not that expensive to change up the different things. They last a while, but there is maintenance that comes along with it. There's no question about it. It would be running another facility. But in general, I had a pretty positive reaction to it. I thought it seemed like a nice thing. You see them all over for little kids and things like that. We haven't really talked a ton about the location about it. This is one that has the ground, and it would fit in well, but we're not married to that location. But again, Nancy's trying to find where we had the pipes and the different things, and it was where the recreation area is. So it seemed like a good location. Again, I think ideally, if we could fit it at Tunxus Mead, we'd like it down there. I think that would be a great place for it. But Tunxus Mead is pretty packed. But again, there's some programs down there. Maybe we could change some programs up and do some different things if that's what we wanted to study some more. But in general, I think that we've talked about this for a long time. I really wanted Nancy to drill down on some of it so I have a better understanding of how it worked. And I'm still, open to the idea of it. And I thought that's why it's here tonight, just for kind of information and get your first reactions about it and go from there.
Thank you. I'll open it up for questions from the council.
What would inhibit you, besides the space down at Tunxus Mead? Water? Do you have water lines down there that can?
There are water lines down there, depending upon where you'd want to put it. It would be how close you were and where you could put it. And then elevation too, as well.
Right. Okay. That, in my mind, that seems to be the perfect place to put it down at the Mead. Just for the amount of activity with other soccer games, and families with smaller kids can use that while someone else is playing soccer. So.
The prime time for use is actually a time when typically the soccer fields are. It would be during July and August would be the prime time for use.
Well, and that would be kind of helpful though with the parking though, right?
Right,
Because
right.
then they're not.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, did you look into the fact that it would be a destination location? Like these other surrounding communities, are they destination locations, meaning you have to drive there to get to it? It's not just there, such as if it was at the Mead, it would just be there. And, whereas this one, I think anybody that would use that splash pad would specifically have to drive there to go use it?
Out of the 12 that I visited in Connecticut, probably 9 were destinations. They were either standalone or had park areas or walk-like areas. There were 3 that were at athletic fields. I don't know if they were all soccer, but they were all at some type of athletic field. So that was, out of the 12 that I visited.
And they've got decent usage?
Yeah, yeah. And then you
That
have,
you
you
know of?
also have Ocean Park that has one as well, which is the only one that charges because it's part of the park down there.
They're becoming very popular, actually. Seems like, you know,
Yeah,
when we
I've seen
first-
quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And then driving out of state a lot, I almost stop at every one else I'm driving by to really take a look at them. So I've just noticed them, they may have been there before, but now I'm sensitive to them, so I've been stopping and looking at them.
Thanks.
Just a little follow-up on the use. You said you visited 12. You say they've been well-used, but if you can go a little more into that, like what portion of the population is going? How often is it busy? I mean, you said Plainville, it's only been 2 years. Were one of those 12 something that's been there for 10 years that you can get a sense if people keep going? And really, what age group are we focusing on?
It depends on what element, to answer your last question first, as far as age group, it depends on what size elements you put in will encourage a certain age group. You can put in ones for smaller with just a lot of more of the ground sprays. The bigger ones with the dumping of water are going to encourage for older kids. So you can tailor make your park to what age group you're targeting. And I think in ours, we were targeting the younger through the early grade schools. For our statistics, we actually pulled, and the place that came and did our feasibility study, they pulled up to 2nd grade, is who they were thinking were going to be our users, 2nd or 3rd grade and below. As far as usage, all of them are different in the types of way that they track their usage. Some of them will know we've had 100 customers a day. Others, depending upon where they're located, there's a few that are located right on parks that they use for summer playgrounds. So they may actually close their park during a summer playground time when they are using it as part of their summer playground and allowing the kids on it. So you know, it totally depends on how they do it, but most of them have said that they were busier than they expected and that throughout the day they are always full on nice days.
Do you have to, like I know with our bike paths, and I also know with the river and where the crew entrance is, there's a lot of visitors from other towns, which is fine, but we really need to maintain those locations, and it's become a cost to the town to maintain those locations. Did any of these 12 towns have that issue? Or was,
Many of them do have a variety of people depending upon where it is and where it's located. Actually, when I went to the one in Plainville, I think half the people were our residents. You know, I actually knew quite a few people that were there. Some people have a sign-in procedure where they only allow in-town residents. There was a few that did that, but most of them don't exclude it. But they do lock it, and so that people aren't allowed in it when it's not open or not operational.
and what's the security around, just from a vandal, okay, and how high is the fencing?
You know, I'm not exactly, but it was definitely, you know, higher, probably 6 to 8 feet, I would imagine, but I don't know.
Okay, right.
I think there's the one in Britain. I think it's in New Britain, it's right near the town line.
Yeah, it might be
Near
Berlin.
CCSU, and
Yeah.
that fence is about 6 to 8 feet.
Yeah. The only reason I ask, because you know, this wonderful idea, I just know where the crew house is and where all the picnic area, that is off, destroyed is too harsh of a word, but we have community residents there once a week cleaning up the mess, and it's just not treated with respect. And something like this, you know, it might have huge benefits to the town, or at least a small portion of the town, but I just don't want it to become,
I think one of our, if you don't mind, I think one of
Absolutely.
our plans with looking at westwards was the fact that we essentially have staff on site having golf courses.
see, that's, you know,
And that's the time of year when it's going to be popular.
Mhm.
And like Nancy said, July and August, Hunts Mead is essentially closed for maintenance.
Right.
We almost don't want to
It's the
attract
opposite.
people
Mhm.
there. We want to distract them from going there because we're trying to rest the athletic field for the ready for the season. With exception to, I think we have softball starting in early August, and then baseball does have some summer playground there, so.
right, which isn't, yeah, which is an argument for that. The other question I had is, I know we've been trying really hard to increase the profit over at the golf course, and we have, you know, the food options. Have you thought a little bit about of somehow bringing those two together? I like the idea you said, you're looking at picnic tables. I mean, I don't know if you've gone that far along.
We've looked at that, and we've actually looked at the idea of, like, even having one of our days of summer camp in that area, or
Okay.
we do golf camps.
I know that, yeah.
And kids can only play golf for so many hours, and we were thinking, as a way to extend.
Well, it's
it
the
to a
heat,
full
too.
day.
If it's
And
90 degrees all day.
Yep, and we have had golf camps where we've had sprinklers on kids because it's so
Okay.
hot. But we were thinking also to be able to do a full day option, and then you could incorporate the picnic tables for lunchtime period, and work to get the food and then have the splash pad as a play area.
Okay.
And then along with that too, with the site is potentially you have a smaller destination, like a family attraction where maybe dad wants to go hit some golf balls,
Mhm.
mom's gonna hang out with the kids right there. There is the snack shack there, the restaurant, restrooms, so you can kind of expand, although it's a free for use, but you're still gonna you can potentially spend money at the golf course if you're there.
Okay.
So-
And do you anticipate, because you touched on parking spaces, is there a way to do this without having to spend money on parking? Do we have enough parking over there?
We probably do not during the July and August. So we would have to extend, which the cheapest way to extend would be the parking lot of Westwoods to add, 2 lines right there.
And that third location, isn't that close to a resident?
No, it's.
Is it on the other
it's
side?
Stone House.
Oh, okay, all right, so, okay. No, but
And we
right
have-
beyond that, I thought there was a house.
No, the house is where the rec office was, so that's where that is. The house is quite a large distance.
Yeah, none of these.
I just want to make
sites are
sure, yeah, because I
related.
know that the homeowner has come in before when we had other ideas for that location.
Yeah, no, it's actually the homer for where the dog park was looking. Was
Okay,
up
was
on
over
that
there.
site, and the house is over here, so this is actually, it's just a different location.
Okay.
It's buffered, it's much buffered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what I really like about this is that it gives people in town, especially young families, a chance to go to someplace on a regular basis, to have their kids play, and that sort of thing is lost. Now, obviously, this was some years ago, but I recall when the Lions Pool was in place, and it was a everyday place to go, and you hung out with friends and whatever. And this is that sort of a place. And I know that we've tried to encourage people to get in to look at swimming pools in the past. It's not gone through, but this is not a swimming pool, but it's a similar sort of a thing. And it'd be a great idea to get families and people together on a summer afternoon.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so-
There's other programming you could do cooperatively too, to just encourage,
So-
that family dinner or something.
The one thing that I was encouraged originally, and then, it was the whole use of the excess water to augment the golf course. Now, I'm gathering that in order to do that, because they consider it to be dirty water, there has to be some filtration.
Correct.
So what's the cost of a filtration process like that?
It wasn't the holdback so much about the filtration, it was the actual allowment to be able to use it to go across into the golf course. So then what we did is we changed and we looked to see if we indeed ever get athletic fields, can we use it for irrigation?
You mean I'm sorry, excuse me, Nancy, you mean the distance to get to the golf
The
course?
distance and how it would go.
How to travel there?
Yeah, how it would travel there. So that would be the most costly part for that. So then we thought about doing it for the athletic fields when and if they ever came there. I figured that that's a much, closer area to do it. But the filtration system also contains a lot of permits, and you have to have the ability, and again, you have to have some of that aquatic ability too, which is, I was so that was like I really wanted to do that. I thought that was the best idea ever,
It just makes sense because you got the sprinklers on so often during the days. It just seems to me like a good idea. Sorry it didn't work out.
Yeah, that was too.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple questions. Did you say, was it 200,000 for the park
Correct.
and 25, I know the community
They've committed to 25,000, yes.
have been so kind to
Yep.
donate some. So 175 is what you're looking for. And as far as the cost of some other things, the water and sewer, and the water company, I mean, is that all been,
Yeah,
as far
it
as,
averages between $3,000 and $5,000. It's about $4,000 per season to use for the water.
and the water company's already been approached?
Oh, yeah, we've already met with them, they've already looked at it and everything, yep.
And does it have any effect on the neighborhood being at Westwoods?
I can't think of what the effect would be.
Just usage.
Just use, I think anything with the golf course there, there is use, so, I mean, it certainly would be people utilizing it during that summer weather.
And there were a couple of other places. One, we did talk about the mead, which I had thought about. I know we talked about it last year when we were first talking about this. And also, as John mentioned, the Lions Park, where it used to be, which was certainly then walkable for people, which was so nice when the pool was there. People could just come from town, and it wasn't destination. It was just, hey, we could go there for a few hours and come back. And but I don't know if that was even approached. I don't know that there's that much property there, where,
I know, that's.
with the houses right on the road, yeah.
Potential traffic issues with such a small, tight area.
I know.
And the mead, that's something that I'd love to see explored too, just because I know the different, and I appreciate you're looking into this being at Westwoods, and the different opportunities are at Westwoods, we could gain from being there. But also being at the mead is such a central place for people to go, and even though soccer may not be going on in the summer, there are other things going on. I know you said, they like some downtime for the fields, but there are other things going on there, whether there's basketball or whether there's, the baseball or, and the playground is there as well.
How the water and the drainage would work and what type of fill. I think that's the important question for the mead, would be the fill.
Yeah. Would be what, I'm sorry?
The fill, how much fill we'd need
Oh,
at the mead.
where you'd locate it.
Yeah.
So, okay. And the supervision. You talked about, that was one of the things of a concern to me, is how that would be handled, even if it's open from, 9 to 5 or something. How you can, as you said, you were, saw a lot of Farmington people over at another town. And I suppose what you're saying is that we as a town, or you as the recreation, designate how you're going to do it, whether you have just Farmington people, whether you open it up to other people, and maybe that's something you wait and see about usage and what happens. But I would just be concerned about making sure we have supervision so that it doesn't become something where Farmington people can't
You
get
mean like
in.
usage supervision?
Yeah,
is how you use
yeah.
it, yeah.
And how that would even work, whether we need somebody to be there more often,
Right, if you're checking to make sure that residents, if you said, hey, we want to do residents, you definitely have to put in some sort of system to allow that to happen, some sort of checks and balances to make sure that you're not getting out of towners.
And is the budget, the 200 for this, that's putting it in,
Correct,
right?
that's the construction, the whole construction and setting it up, yes.
And then the annual costs would be water and
Right,
sewer
that's
and
on
maintenance is,
that page that I listed.
okay. So I really had never had much exposure to that until about a year and a half ago. I now have 2 little grandsons who I've had a lot of exposure now. But, and they are delightful.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
really
really,
fun.
but of course, I just have the concern of how would we do it, and maintenance and supervision, and how would we do it with our, the people in our town, and work with it. I certainly would want Farmington to have the best advantage first.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so, okay, well, I thank you. And are there any other questions from the council?
I think we have some good talking points to go back with and look at some other things, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome. Should we shut that down, or?
Yeah.
Are you not using it? Yeah.
Well, does it make noise still?
We're good. I'll do it later.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, it makes noise when you shut it down?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Number 3, D3.
Do you need a motion to table this?
Yeah.
To
need
table
a
it?
motion.
Yeah, we always
Or
table
will
it.
we get yelled
Yes.
at because when we table it, we
No.
have to pick it back up off the table?
Yes, we have to motion to table, correct?
You can't table anything.
We can't
It's not-
table it.
No,
if
no,
we're
but-
not going to pick it
right.
back up. All right, so I would move
Or
to table
if you don't
it,
want
or-
to consider it at all, you just don't consider it.
All right.
Right, but
Don't you usually just
generally we
consider
make
it?
a motion.
What?
This is the blighted.
Do you want to discuss this list tonight?
No,
No.
we never touch.
Then just don't even bring it up.
Okay.
Well, we generally discuss it.
We
Yes,
discuss
we
it, we
wanna
don't take
discuss it.
action on
We
it.
don't take
Okay,
action.
that's something different. Then you make the motion, and then when you're done discussing, you table it until the next.
So you just consider it.
All right, I move to consider the following,
And take action.
and take action?
Okay.
Okay. But we'll table the action.
Yes.
And take action on the following 2017 blighted building list.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay. We have 3 items that are still on our blighted building list, and as you remember, we usually look at this, and then we take it up at the next meeting, and we act on it. On the positive is that we have 1 less building on the blight list than we did last year. So we were able to remove 702 New Britain Avenue because it's going to be demolished. We have 3 other items that are long-standing items that we are continually trying to work at to get them removed from the blighted list. And I don't know if you have any specific questions, and usually if there's other homes that you are interested in looking at, let us know before the next meeting and we can evaluate them. But we've been really keeping, our zoning enforcement officer, we have a watch list, and we've been really trying to keep, not have homes on the blight list, obviously.
Are there any questions right now?
No.
Okay.
John does.
I
Oh,
have some questions.
sorry, John, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A couple of things. 63 Main Street.
Yes.
Now, is there no one living there?
Uncertain.
Because there's a car that parks there many nights.
Yes, uncertain. In my understanding, there's still no power and electricity to that home.
Okay. 15 Walnut Street. So I'm really not sure why this property is on the blight list. Because for me, what the blight list is trying to do is to take unoccupied, unmaintained buildings and try to force the property owner to take action to improve those buildings. 15 Walnut Street is blighted because the woman who lived there died and she never took care of her property when she lived there. So upon her death, it automatically became a blight. Now, her family didn't unreact. Her family reacted immediately by putting this property on for sale so that they could get rid of it so somebody else would buy it and fix it up. So encouraging them to go forth with that sale is a way to get this building cleaned up. It's the best way. And so for me, putting this on the blight list doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't make the family do anything more to get the property fixed up. So why would we want to bother pestering our residents into doing something which accomplishes?
Well, I think the family would do something if the property was liened and with money. I mean, it's usually a motivational factor to get the property cleaned up.
If they were looking to clean it up, but they aren't looking to clean it up, they want to get rid of it.
Right.
They just wanted to put it on the market, have somebody buy it, whoever's going to buy it, isn't going to buy it to leave it blighted. They're going to buy it to fix it up.
Right.
So
Right.
putting this on the market is the best way for us.
And I mean, again, it's up to you all, it's your decision, but we a lot of times use this as leverage to make sure that they continue to move to try to sell it and do things. And right now, the property's not being fined because of the fact that we just keep it on, if you would not want it on. But I do caution that if a vacant property with no one living there, there's usually a very good chance, not all the time, that it's bank-owned, and then we use that to have the bank come in and mow the lawn and keep it up and do different things. And it's kind of a leverage to that. But again, you guys can take a look at it and,
So
it meets the standard.
my guess is that if we didn't have this on the blight list, the family would still be actively looking to sell the property, just like they sold the other lot. So again, it's not, our action isn't encouraging the family to do anything that they wouldn't ordinarily do. They certainly aren't thinking about holding on to the property just so they can pay things like taxes. So again, when I look at the blight list, the blight list is trying to make property owners improve their property and help the neighborhood. And this isn't doing that. This isn't getting the family to do anything they wouldn't do without it being on the blight list. And because these people are longtime residents in Farmington, they're feeling like their town is poking at them unnecessarily. So I don't think this should be on the blight list.
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
question? How subjective are these determinations? I mean, if something meets the blighted building ordinance, in the past, has the council made sort of subjective determinations that for extenuating circumstances, even though it meets the requirements to be on the list, it wouldn't be? Or is it just rather black and white? If it meets the requirements, it's on the list?
Usually, if I'm recommending that it meets the list and it's been on for 2 years, it's on the list, where it's the fining, and that's not really at the council level, it's at our level, that if we're working with the owners and trying to do that, then we're not fining the property, but we're using it as leverage to do that. So usually if it's recommended, it's because it's blighted and it's on, whether or not we're fining them or not.
Okay.
I actually think that one of the reasons it shows that we are considerate is that they're not getting fined.
Right.
You know, which is a courtesy,
Right,
which is,
I'd be louder about this if they were being fined.
okay. All right, so now I need a motion to table.
I move to table action on the 2017 blighted building list.
Second.
Until the February.
14th
Until
meeting.
the February 14th regular council
Yes.
meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay. 4, the problem will go away in the next.
Right, I move to recommend the construction of an approximately 16,500 square foot playground area with installation of playground equipment at Westwood's Upper Elementary School to be located to the southwest of the school, to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for a report under Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes.
Second.
Kathy?
And I think I left another map for everyone at their places. So you have a site plan for playground equipment. From this plan, it will occupy approximately 16,000 square foot of the area to the south end of Westwood's property, immediately adjacent to the blacktop recess area, which is, you go through the cafeteria. The playground area will provide age-appropriate equipment for upper elementary school children, and the area will include a small kickball field. Mulch will be used under the playground equipment, and the kickball field will be the lawn. Due to the proximity to the existing wetlands, the Playground Committee submitted a full application to the Inland Wetlands Commission, and that was approved on January 4th. The Building Committee has secured written permission from the superintendent schools for this project, and they've reached out to the neighborhood, and they have a number of signatures in support. And the Playground Committee will initiate a fundraising campaign, and that will match a very generous donation of $50,000 received by the Lions Club. And the playground area will include swings, climbing equipment, and a small playground, a small kickball and play field. And under the swings will be the mulch. I think
And that's all in the 16,000 square feet area?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then I guess the thought is that they'll be able to go right, if you look, there's the Westwood School, they'll be able to go right through to go to the cafeteria, so then they can come outside and then use the proposed area.
For lunch or recess
Yes,
time?
exactly.
Kathy, just a quick question.
go ahead.
I know how much everyone who's ever had a student in that school is looking for something like this, and there'll be a lot of very happy students and parents. What I'd like for you to do, if possible, is just find out a little more about the reach out to the Cornerstone community. Cornerstone community is very, very close to Westwoods already. I don't know how many feet, but it's real tight. And it's great that you have a couple of letters in support, but if you can just find out a little bit more about what they did they reach out to everyone? Is there any pushback? Just because we really need to be respectful of them. I think we're probably talking about 10 or 15 feet. And especially the crowd, I think that's on Baldwin, who's on Baldwin, because Baldwin really abuts Westwoods. So if you can just get that information, that would be very helpful.
No problem.
Other questions? I think that was one of the things that was so nice, was that a number of years ago, it wasn't so, people weren't so receptive, and now it just seems like they're much more receptive, and just in the whole idea that the school there can be such a wonderful community place for the school, which is community with the playground and just usage, you know, and that it's a fun thing to have kids there and make noise, and which a number of years ago it was a little more difficult. But anyway, that's good too.
And then Board of Ed will have to do an application to the TPZ, correct?
Right, it still goes to the TPZ.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
So
just a
then the neighbors will
referral
have
to,
an
yeah,
opportunity.
opportunity.
This is for us to refer it.
For
Yeah,
it
I
as an
understand
agent,
that, but
yep,
just if the neighbors,
good point,
to Amy's
Yep.
point, they'll be notified of that based on their proximity.
Okay.
exactly.
Probably to the playground.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say this is long overdue. I'm very happy to see this come before us, and big thank you to the Lions Club and to Mr. Tobble for organizing all of this.
John?
So I just want to offer my compliments to the Playground Committee. It's really great to see parents come together and make improvements for the kids at their school. And, you know, we did it years ago at Union School for a playground, but this is a school that's been missing a playground for many years, and again, my compliments to the committee.
And I just want to echo that as well. I mean, everybody is, we know for a number of years, there's been discussion about a playground there, and this has been a long process. And, you know, I really commend the committee and David Taball for leading it on, and just to really to have been patient and work through all the steps that needed to be with the town and with the school and get the okays. And they really saw, you know, their vision and just kept working toward it. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful place for the kids at the school and the community there to come over and use this facility. So it really will be. And I also want to make sure that I want to again compliment the Lions Club, the Unionville Lions Club, for their $50,000 for their matching funds for the playground. So that was really commendable on their part. So we thank them very much for helping out, as the community chest did previously. Our community is a great community for all the different organizations helping the schools and the community itself. So, but thank you to the Lions Club as well. So at this time, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that's it. Any new business? No executive session, so with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?